Dearborn represents the best of America. We put into practice the ideal that people of all backgrounds, of all faiths, and of all beliefs can live peacefully and respectfully as neighbors, as classmates, as business owners, and as congregants. And that is precisely why we have long been mislabeled and targeted.
So one of the things that you guys need to understand out there in the audience is how the game is played, because occasionally you have little bits of moments of clarity, like we did a couple of weeks ago at the Dearborn meeting, when of course a Christian guy ends up approaching the podium. He decides to call out the naming of a street after a journalist who talked about advocating for violence, and not just in the Middle East, but all the way to Michigan, saying that they fight with knives, they fight with fists, they fight with planes.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just reading his words here.
That's fine, but you're interpreting his words after you read them. He did not use the word violence, did he?
Well, may I continue the rest of the quote?
Well, if you say you want to read them, you can read them. If you want to interpret and give your own opinion of what he's thinking, that's a different story.
Okay. Sure, I mean, I'd love to discuss this. I just want to finish the quote because there's more. Okay, I'll continue. Whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin, believe me, everyone should fight within his means. They will fight with stones, others will fight with guns, others will fight with planes, drones, and rockets, others will fight with their voices, and others will fight with their hands and say, "Free, free Palestine."
And of course, we had the mayor, the man you just saw right there, talk about how Dearborn represents the best in the United States of America, peaceful coexistence, tell this man that he was not welcome in this country. If you're not familiar with this clip, I played it a couple of times on this channel. Let me play it for you right here so you can get an idea of what the mayor actually stands for, who the mayor actually is, and what he wants Dearborn to stand for as the chief executive of that particular city.
And I think it's quite hypocritical to know that you're approaching this podium when you yourself have videos on YouTube standing in front of my mosque saying the cruelest of things about Muslims, about the religion of Islam, because you are a bigot and you are a racist and you are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence. You're somebody who tries to preach it, but in fact you do everything but that. So I just want to put that on the record.
Okay.
But of course, this little moment, this little example of what Dearborn has become as it's become more Arabic, more Islamic, ended up making national news. It went way further than this particular chamber, and it went even further beyond, of course, the local news segment that reported on it, and of course, the full video of their meeting, which had in and around 900 views when we originally covered the story. So now you got the mayor thinking, oh, I gotta change the narrative. I gotta talk about what actually went down, wink wink, but not actually address it, and I gotta make sure everybody understands that Dearborn is a very welcoming place, Dearborn is a very inclusive place, and we all work together in order to forward the dream of the United States of America, wink wink, even though, again, this guy is just playing the victim. He's now saying that Dearborn's under attack for reasons that cannot be discerned by him, even though he is the man himself who said that a citizen of Dearborn is not welcome, that he's a racist, bigot, Islamophobe, because again, and I know not a lot of people have been showing you these clips, that man dared to read the quotes of somebody who they named a street after in this particular area. By the way, the mayor also told this guy that he shouldn't even open his eyes when he's driving down the street.
If you'd like to step forward.
I think the only comment I'm going to make, because I'm not
Mayor?
looking for a rebuttal, is the best suggestion I have for you is to not drive on Warren Avenue, or to close your eyes while you're doing it. His name is up there, and I spoke at a ceremony celebrating it because he's done a lot for this community.
Because he doesn't give a damn about this citizen, and he absolutely meant it when he said, you're not welcome here. But of course, now he's the victim. Of course, sensationalized media headlines. The real problem isn't him and what he said and what we saw on video and that flash of reality of what Dearborn's all about. The real issue is the fact that people like me saw it, that they told you about it, that we amplified his own words so you can understand what he means. And this is what we're going to talk about today. This little game that they love to play in all these different various places across the United States of America, where they end up attacking white people and or Christians and or whoever they want to demonize as the oppressors. We end up noticing it, and then suddenly they're the victims all over again. So before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Long before the sensationalized headlines of this past week. For decades, people have been intent on dividing and disparaging our city. Growing up, many of us recall those who came into Dearborn from across the country to burn religious texts in front of the mosques or to harass families attending the Arab American Festival. Dearborn has often been slandered for simply coexisting peacefully, because the truth is, some people are uncomfortable and frankly upset about seeing church steeples and mosque domes share the same skyline on roads like Alter Street, on Alter Road.
Do you hear that, guys? Did you catch what the mayor just put down right there? For decades and decades, Muslims have just been oppressed in Dearborn. People had been protesting their Arab festivals. They burned the Quran in order to mock these individuals. And the real truth, the real issue at hand, isn't anything to do with, the Islamicization of this middle American city. It doesn't have anything to do with the mayor feeling like now that he's in power, they're no longer at the stage where they're asking for freedom. Again, when you're in the minority, you ask for freedom because that's according to American values. But when you get to the majority, you take away freedom. You want to shut it down. You want people out of your city because taking away freedoms is a part of your values. That's what we're seeing on display right here. But the guy got a little bit ahead of himself. So now he's backpedaling. He's talking about, oh my God, it's so sad. And you hear the clapping and whatnot, but you also hear the booing. And all of this rings incredibly hollow because guess what? Given the opportunity to actually address the man that he said he wanted out of his city, that he wasn't welcome in the city, he didn't actually apologize. This happened way later in the interaction, despite multiple people from Dearborn talking about the mayor and how ridiculous his comments were. He waited until later in order to give this virtue signaling speech about how in reality the real issue is the fact that the mayor is oppressed. In reality, the real issue is that Muslims are being put down in the city of Dearborn, despite the fact that they hold almost every single leading position in their government, and they are not in any way, shape, or form being oppressed in that city.
But Dearborn has never fallen for these divisive attempts. Back then and still now, Dearborn residents from every corner of the city have come together to shun hatred and to root it out of the place that we're all proud to call home. We are united. Every time someone has tried to unravel the fabric of this great city, we've stood together, shoulder to shoulder. That unity has carried us before, and it's what gives families in Dearborn comfort and confidence in the future of our hometown.
Again, this unity talk might sound good very superficially, but recall what this is actually supposedly addressing. Recall who is actually the person who said that certain people aren't welcome in Dearborn, and who's the person who just tried to preach their religion. And again, he's going to go on to talk about how, Dearborn residents of all faiths and whatnot are welcome, but remember, one of his main issues with the guy that he said was not welcome in the city was the fact that he was proselytizing near a mosque. You're not allowed to do that in the city of Dearborn. You're not allowed to do that in front of his own mosque, even though, again, these faiths recruit people and try to convert people all the time. It is definitely a characteristic of not only Christianity, the faith that he was condemning, but of course of Islam. This is obvious. This is why these faiths have over 1 billion people. It's not like that happened by accident, but for whatever reason, now he wants to talk about people of different faiths standing shoulder to shoulder to fight against discrimination and bigotry, even though, again, at a governmental level, he told somebody he was not welcome there because that guy was preaching his faith.
Across every background, every faith, every identity, we have built a city that is not only strong, but truly an example for the rest of this nation.
So he says that the city is strong and it's an example for the rest of the nation, and obviously that is not true. Again, I will point out that our previous story that we covered on this channel had to do with the basically force feeding of Islamic calls to prayer at 5:30 in the morning in the Dearborn area, which of course violates the noise ordinance, just any kind of loudspeaker activity, because you're not supposed to do that between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. So for those few of you who wanted to make the comparison to church bells ringing at certain times during the day, typically church bells end up ringing around noon or 6 p.m., but they do not ring all hours into the night or in the early morning. And again, in Dearborn, Michigan, where they have noise ordinances, that is expressly prohibited at the times that they're talking about. So if you want to say, okay, they could do the Islamic call to prayer in and around this certain period of time that does not fall under the severe noise ordinance restriction, then that's fine. You can make that argument. That becomes an issue of decibel levels. That's worthy of inspection and whatnot in order to figure out if that's actually a violation. But in reality, you're not supposed to do that at 5:30 in the morning. That's what they were complaining about. But in Dearborn, even though those rules are clear, even though they had an opportunity to exempt mosques specifically from these ordinances, guess what? They didn't vote for that. They didn't support it, and yet they're doing it anyway. But this is the example for the rest of the country. Quote unquote peaceful coexistence, which is actually in reality Islamic dominance in these communities.
And as you've heard tonight, those who call Dearborn home know who we are. A city that welcomes and embraces everyone. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you're not welcome here. A city that welcomes and embraces everyone. It is our hope that one day the unity you actually find in Dearborn amongst its residents is the same unity and coexistence that you see across our entire nation. That is an America we all can pray for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, of course, you hear some applause from the peanut gallery over in Dearborn, Michigan. You do hear some strong boos, which, by the way, absolutely love the people that are booing this particular mayor. But what you didn't hear is an actual apology. What you didn't hear was the mayor of Dearborn actually say, you know what, he regrets telling a citizen of the city that he's not welcome because he dared to preach Christian beliefs because that makes him an evil white racist, Islamophobe and whatnot. And he dared to quote somebody that they named a street after in that particular city, and that was intentionally so. The guy gets to give the unity speech. By the way, this gets picked up by the Detroit Free Press, who doesn't actually give you the context of this. They just give you this excerpt right here and say, wow, what a great guy, what a welcoming city. Dearborn, an example for the United States of America, where you have these new minority populations who bring in their religion and their culture, they impose it on the city, and then they tell older residents who want to preach about Jesus Christ or want to talk about problems with certain figures that they're naming streets after, that they're not welcome, that they're racist bigots, and they will throw a parade when they leave. Again, absurd, ridiculous, but we're all supposed to pretend that this is perfectly normal because he gave a nice sounding speech. Don't you guys feel like your hearts are warmed? And again, I will point out that the same guy that was attacked in the previous meeting actually came in and he talked about how he forgave this person, how people had been encouraging him to sue the mayor, but in reality, he wasn't going to do so because Christ's teachings tell him to turn the other cheek.
I have no intention of bringing a lawsuit for the infringement of my rights. People have been saying I should do that all over the world. I have no intention of doing that. The mayor, in a way, cursed me, as was seen around the world, and I would like to repeat what I said that day to you, Mr. Mayor. God bless you. I think of the words of the Messiah, bless those who curse you, and some other very powerful words which were mentioned this week at a prominent funeral about loving your enemies and love your haters. And I think this is a very important message in our society right now, not just in regards to Muslim-Christian relations, but in our society generally. I see way too many people calling the other side a POS. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you, but I just think there's way too much hate in the society right now. And so I want to encourage loving your haters. There's nowhere in the world where we are able to speak completely freely as Christians. Here in Western countries, we're slandered as Islamophobes when we try gently and respectfully to invite Muslim people to believe in the Lord Jesus. And in Muslim countries, there are so many violations of human rights. And just to give an example, Mayor Hamoud, you were in Mecca a few months ago on the Hajj, the original Islamic country, and in that country, there is still not allowed to be even one church, not one church in that whole country.
Now, after that, we got crickets from the mayor. After that, we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear him directly address this particular citizen. We just had him wait a little while, give this canned speech about how Dearborn is a beacon of hope for everybody across the world, the new Mecca, if you will, and we should just accept the fact that it's a welcoming city, and everybody in the United States of America should follow the Dearborn mayor's lead, which is attack a citizen and then play the victim when you get attention for the thing that you actually did. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Dearborn mayor giving a phony apology. Till next time.